So let's continue with the fifth chapter in Golden Race, titled as A Hero, page number 61. I don't think so, father said, and Swami slunk behind him with the towel. Slunk means he slowly hiding with his bowed head. Let me sleep in the hall, father, Swami pleaded. Your office is very dusty and there may be scorpions behind your law books. So the boy is very much fearful and he cannot tolerate this way of being alone in a room for a whole night. So he said, he pleased his father, Father, please don't get me into your office room because it's very dusty and it's not at all clean and there are many insects and scorpions behind your law books. There are no scorpions, little fellow. Sleep on the bench if you like. Can I have a lamp burning in the room? Then the father said to him, there are no scorpions, little. Sleep on the bench if you can sleep on the bench if you don't want to lie down in the floor. You can use the bench to sleep. Can I have a lamp burning in the room? Then the boy asked his father, can I have a light in my room? No, you must learn not to be afraid of darkness. It is a question of habit. You must cultivate good habits. Then the father said to his son that you must learn not to be afraid of darkness. So darkness is the central theme or the central symbol of fear. To be in a darkness, to be in a dark room. So that's one of the main concept of fear. So the father is advising or the father is insisting his son that you should be overcome from the fear of darkness. Will you at least leave the door open? Then at last the boy asking the father that, will you please leave the door open, father, please? All right, but promise you will not roll up your bed and go to granny's side at night. If you do it, mind you, I will make you laughing stock of your school. Then the father said, all right, you promise you will not roll up to bed and go to. Then the father said, okay, I will leave the door open, but you should not go to your granny's bed at night. If you do it, mind you, I will make you laughing the stock of your school. If you go to your granny's room for to sleep, I will make you teasing by your students, by your classmates in the school. I will make you as a laughing stock in your school. That's what the father said to his son. Swami felt cut off from humanity. He was pained and angry. He did not like the strain of cruelty he saw in his father's nature. He hated the newspaper for printing tiger story. He wished that the tiger hadn't spared the boy, who did not appear to be a boy after all, but a monster. So now the Swami, the little boy, is now alone in a dark room. He is just become independent and alone in a dark room. He is very fearful, and in that time his psyche or his mind is filled with many atrocious or ghostly appearance. He just hated the newspaper for printing the tiger story. He don't want that tiger story happen to read by his father, and he wished the tiger had its way, and he wished that if the tiger eat the boy, it will be much more better, and I don't need to take this challenge at all. And after all, the boy but a monster. As the night advanced and the silence in the house deepened, his heart beat faster. So the night is going dark and dark. The time is going more. He remembered all the stories of devils and ghosts he heard in his life. How often had his son, Mani, seen the devil in the banyan tree at his street end? And what about poor Munisami's father, who spat out blood because the devil near the river's edge slapped his cheek when he was returning home late one night? So in that night, the boy is dreaming. The boy is thinking all the horrible things in his night. That how he had heard all the ghostly stories in his childhood age. How Mani is a character who seen the devil. Devil is a kind of ghost in the banyan tree at his street end. And what Munisami's father, Munisami is another character. Munisami's father spat out blood How he vomited blood when the devil near the river's edge slapped his cheek when he was returning, and so on. His thoughts continue. So his thoughts, his mind is filled with terrible emotions and ghostly figures. He was faint with fear. He just fell down with fear. A ray of light from the street lamp strayed in the cast and shadows on the wall. Through the stillness, all kinds of noises reached his ears: ticking of the clock, a rustle of trees, snoring sounds, and vague night insects humming. So at that night, he is just hearing all the ghostly sound. The insects were humming, the snoring sound. Snoring sound means a horrible sound. The rustle of the tree, the sound happened by the air in the trees. He covered himself with the blanket as if it were an armor, covered himself so completely that he could hardly breathe. Every moment he expected the devils to come up and clutch at his throat to carry away. There was the instance of his old friend in the fourth class who suddenly disappeared and was said to have been carried off by a ghost to Siam or Nepal. So here the boy is having the horrible dream of how a ghost is taking him, how the ghost is trying to make him fear and and he is also remembering a story of his classmates, that one of his old friend in the fourth class who suddenly disappeared, how because a ghost is taken away to him to Siam or Nepal. So he is just remembering an old story of his friend, that how a boy is taken by a ghost to Nepal or Siam. So all these stories are making him fear more and more, and he cannot afford the length, or he cannot afford the rise of fear in his mental strength. Swami hurriedly got up and spread his bed under the bench and crouched. It seemed to be a much safer place, more compact and reassuring. He shut his eyes tight and encased himself in his blanket once again, and unknown to himself fell asleep, and in sleep he was racked with nightmares. So the boy is in a terrible dream, and he is with an utmost fear. He don't want this fear to be compromised. He is in a high state of fear that could not be tolerated by anyone. So by trying to suppress this fear, he just hold his bedsheet tight and eyes closed tightly and encased himself in his blanket once again, and unknown to himself. So by keeping his blanket tight and closer, he just somehow tried hard to sleep. And in that sleep, he is always having nightmare. Nightmares means a terrible kind of dream, dream which is full of ghostly appearances and horror aspects are there. A tiger was chasing him. So in that nightmare or in that dream, he just saw a dream. What is the dream? A tiger was chasing him. His feet stuck on the ground. He desperately tried to escape, but his feet would not move. The tiger was at his back, and he could hear its claws scratch the ground. Scratch, scratch. Then a light thud. Swami tried to open his eyes, but his eyelids would not open, and the nightmare continued. It threatened to continue all his life. Swami groaned in despair. What an inescapable dream. So in that nightmare, he just saw a dream. What is a dream? A tiger is chasing him in a forest, and he just blocked in somewhere. His feet stuck on the ground. So while his feet stuck on the ground, what he is doing? He is trying his maximum to escape from that stuck feet. And the tiger was, and he heard the scratch, or he heard how the tiger claws were scratched on the ground. There are some small voices, scratch, and then a light thud. So he heard this noise of tiger coming close by. So the Swami tried to open his eyes. So when this sound came more closely, the Swami tried to open his eyes, but he cannot open because of his high state of fear. And the nightmare continued. It threatened to continue all his life. Swami groaned despair. What an inescapable dream. So he cannot come out from that dream. So he cannot open his eyes. So the dream continued. With a desperate fear, he opened his eyes. He put his hand out to feel the grannies present at his one side. As was his habit, but he only touched the wooden leg of the bench, and his lonely state come back to him. He sweated with fright. And now, what was this rustling? So in that night, as I already told that the dream is continued, so he just think that it is his granny's physical body. So he want to hold his granny tight. But actually this is not the body, or this is not the granny's physical presence, but he touched the wooden leg of the bench, and his lonely state come back to him. He sweated with fright. So in this state, or in this period, he is just had a very fearful, a very frightened experience. And now, what was this rustling? He moved to the edge of the bench and stared in the darkness. Something was moving down. He lay gazing in the horror. His end had come. He became desperate. So with utmost fear, his fear level is going high, and he lay gazing in the horror. His end had come. He became desperate. He knew that the devil would presently pull him out and tear him to shreds. And so why should he wait? As it came nearer, he crawled out under the bench and hugged it with his might, and used his teeth on it like a mortal weapon. So this is the very funny, or this is the very important aspect which a dramatic aspect which mentioned here. So when we are more and more fearful, what we do is extremely dramatic. So what he is doing is that he become terrible, and he with his teeth he just bite something as like a mortal weapon. What do you mean by mortal weapon? Mortal weapon means a weapon which is used according to what situation he is in. So here he is a situation, he is very frightful and in a very fearful mode. So he want to use a weapon to overcome or to suppress this fear. So what he is making his tooth as a weapon and bite something very tightly. What he is biting? Is it the bench, or is it his granny, or is it someone else? That is what is the main aspect in this story. Ayyo! Something has bitten me, went for an agonized thundering cry, and followed by a heavy tumbling and falling amidst furniture. In a moment, father and servant came in, carrying it. So, this is the very wonderful thing here. What he is doing? He is biting someone who is inside the room. So who is inside the room? That is the question. Okay, he is biting someone who is inside the room, who is a trespasser, or someone who is forcefully come into the room. And all three of them fell on the burglar, who lay amidst the furniture with bleeding ankle. So all three of them fell on the burglar. Burglar means thief, chore. Okay. So all three of them fell on the burglar, who lay amidst furniture with bleeding ankle. So the father of Swami, his mother, and the grandmother, both three of came and caught the burglar, or tried to tackle the burglar or the thief. Congratulations come showering on Swami next day. So what is the news that spread over? The Swami is the one who caught up the thief, or caught up the chore. His classmates looked at him with respect, and teachers patted his back. The headmaster said that was a true scout. Swami had bitten into the flesh of one of the most notorious housebreakers of the district, and the police was grateful to him for it. So what did he do? The Swami becomes a hero. Hero by what? Hero who is trying to caught a thief or a chore, who is trying to theft something from his home or something from the office of his father. The inspector said that the police also praising Swami. Why don't you join the police? They are asking that, Swami, boy, why don't you join the police when you are elder? Swami said for the sake of politeness, certainly yes, though he had quite made any mind to be an engine driver, a railway guard, or a bus conductor later in life. When he returned home from the club that night, father asked, "Where is the boy?" "He is asleep already." So, after all these things, when Swami got praised by the police, the teachers, the classmates, all by that he is a hero, then after all this celebration, his father came back to his home and asking that, "Where is the boy?" "He is asleep already." "He didn't have a wink of sleep the whole of last night," said his mother. So what he said, "He didn't sleep for a whole night because of all this celebration." "Where is he sleeping?" "In his usual place," mother said casually. "He went to bed at 7:30. So the father is asking that, where is he sleeping? Did he sleep in the office room or in his usual sleeping place? Then the mother is saying, in his usual place. He went to bed at 7:30. So at 7:30 itself he is going to sleep. Sleeping beside his granny again, father said. So he is sleeping again with his grandmother. No wonder he wanted to sleep before I should return home, clever boy. So the father said, I know that he is very clever because that's why he is sleeping before I came to the home. Mother lost her temper. You let him sleep where he likes. You needn't risk his life again, father mumbled as he went into a change. All right, mollycoddle and spoil him as much as you like. Only don't blame me afterwards. So the father is asking that so the mother is racing towards the father that let him sleep. The Swami, my little boy will sleep wherever he wants. You cannot make any rules. You cannot taking any insistence to sleep where he belongs. But he should sleep where he likes. The father mumbled as he went in the stage. All right, mollycoddle and spoil him as much as you like. Mollycoddle means a statement or a word which used to settle all the problem or to make peaceful statement with all the problem. Okay, and don't blame me afterwards. So the father is saying, don't blame me afterwards if the boy had problem anything in future. Swami, following the whole conversation from under the blanket, felt tremendously relieved to hear that his father was giving him up. So the Swami, the little boy, is hearing all these conversations, and he want to hear all this. He is hearing all these stories under the blanket and silently want to sleep again without troubling him much about like the challenges done by his father. So what is the main context or what is the main aspect which mentioned in this story? It is about how a boy overcome his fear. Did he overcome it rightly? No. But how a boy or someone is praised by the media or praised by someone else without he having much courage in the society. So in this chapter, did Swami really a hero? No. He cannot come out from his fear or fragile nature. But he is praised as a hero because unconsciously he is caught or he is trying to trouble a thief. So in the external world this should be praised, but in the internal world Swami is not at all a courageous person, he is a coward. So a hero is a concept which is extrinsically valuable but intrinsically invaluable. That is the main concept or that is the main message which mentioned throughout in the short story by R.K. Narayan. It's a very good story which has a very moral appeal in that sense. So the R.K. Narayan is conveying that the fear should be taken away both inwardly and outwardly. Okay, thank you students. Study well.